Welcome to Cake Playground, where it's all about the fun. This tutorial is on Isomalt Monograms. These are beautiful glass-like decorations that are great on any desserts, including wedding cakes. You will need the following equipment: cotton and non-latex gloves to protect your hands, a thick vinyl mat to protect your counter, pre-cooked and colored isomalt sticks, a glass measuring cup, either prefabricated molds, or if you want to make your own mold, you can use a silicone mat and some cutting utensils, and you can make one yourself. A butane torch. In the first part of this tutorial, we will be using a prefabricated mold by Wilton to make this beautiful monogram. Start off by breaking the isomalt sticks into the heat-proof glass cup. You can either break them by hand or use the side of the cup. Next, we're going to melt the isomalt in the microwave, starting off at a minute and then 20-second intervals until the isomalt looks like this. After the bubbles have settled down a bit, carefully pour the isomalt into the mold, starting at one end and trying not to overpour. You're going to let the isomalt cool in the mold until hard. When the isomalt is hard, gently pull the mold away from the isomalt. Don't tug too hard on the Isomalt Monogram as it might break. Now you can see here though that I overpoured a little bit, so let's talk about how to fix that. You see right here, I'm going to break that off, but it still has a slightly rough edge, but we can fix it with the torch. Be really careful with this torch, it's super hot. And have a light hand. Just gently touch the rough spot, let it melt into itself. You can also use the torch to polish out these bubbles that take away from the clear look of this monogram. See, just be really light, brush the torch gently over, and the bubbles will melt into itself. And you'll see here how the appearance changes from a milky look to a really clear look. And so here we have the beautiful finished monogram. Now, if you're looking to do something a little bit more stylized, you can make your own monogram using a silicone mat, an X-Acto knife, and a cutting board. Start out by printing the monogram that you want to use. Cut it out with a pair of scissors. I would err on the side to cut on the outside of the monogram, leaving a little bit of white space. You are going to use this paper monogram for a template to trace around on your silicone mat. So use a black Sharpie pen and trace around the edge. Check as you go to make sure that you're tracing all the way around the monogram. Now you are going to cut the monogram out from the silicone mat. Place the silicone mat on a cutting board and use an X-Acto knife. I start from one of the points and I'm going to cut on the inside of the black line. Now I always like to pull the X-Acto knife toward me. So you notice that I'm turning the mat and the cutting board so that the X-Acto knife is pulling toward me to cut. Be really careful with your fingers. Don't put them in the way of the knife unless you want some cuts on your hand. You see, as I'm going around the corner here too, I'm just taking it kind of slow and turning the board as I go, and then loosening the points with the X-Acto blade. So just continue cutting around the monogram until it's completely loosened and take it off. So now you're just going to trim the silicone mold to size away from the rest of the mat. You see here I've left a margin on the sides. Be sure and do that. There will be a little bit of residual marker on the mold. So you're just going to take and clean that off with a clean cotton cloth. Just make sure not to tug too hard on the mold so you don't rip it. And this is what the mold should look like when you clean it off. Place the mold on top of another piece of silicone mat and pour some melted isomalt into the mold starting at one end. You'll notice here I'm using a gum paste tool just to hold down the mold so it doesn't lift up so that the isomalt will go underneath the mold. You can use a toothpick or skewer or whatever you have on hand. Try as best you can not to overpour the mold or to get isomalt underneath the mold. Now you'll let this set until the isomalt is completely hard. When the isomalt is completely hard, you can remove the mold. Remove the top mold first by pulling gently away from the sides. And then remove the monogram from the bottom mat by gently pulling the mat away from the isomalt. Don't tug too hard on the monogram or you'll break it. You'll see here that this monogram is not completely clear either, so we can use the same technique of fixing the monogram to look clear like this. Again, we're going to be using the butane torch. So turn the monogram so the back side is facing up and gently polish the monogram with the torch. Have a light hand with the torch or you're going to melt your monogram and have it lose its shape. So just have some light little brushes and pull the torch away and then come back again if you need to melt it a little bit more. Let the monogram harden back up before you remove it. If it's sticking to the vinyl mat, you can use a knife or spatula to loosen it. Just be careful so you don't break it. And you can see now that it's going to be clear like glass. And here we have the finished monogram that you made with your very own mold. Now if you want to put your monogram upright on your cake as a topper, I recommend using some wooden shish kebab type of skewers to support the monogram. So pour a couple dollops of melted but slightly thickened isomalt on your mat and insert the skewers. When those are dry, put them into some melted isomalt and then stick the skewer and the dollop of isomalt onto the monogram. In this case, one on each point of the M. When the isomalt's set up, now you have supports for your monogram. You would insert those into the cake like that, and you would use that as a beautiful topper. Thank you everyone for joining us in this Isomalt Monogram tutorial. Please come to CakePlayGround.com for further tutorials, equipment lists, and links. Remember, at Cake Playground, it's all about the fun.